Hey guys, and welcome to week 6 of the Tarot Self Therapy course. I hope that you guys have been enjoying the course so far and that things are going great for you across all of your tarot explorations and your inner work. I know that this has been a whirlwind of a course, so if you're still with me, congratulations, you're doing awesome. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys this stuff about sort of bringing everything sort of into the physical. So this is a really important topic when we're looking at sort of how to get the most out of your readings. So everything that we've covered up to this point in the course talks a lot about, basically everything from the very beginning of the basic card meanings and sort of understanding how to think about the cards and how to form your own perceptions of the cards, to connecting the cards in a reading, to your own empowerment during readings, and all of that kind of stuff, looking at your inner archetypes. So at a certain point, we have to kind of look at the whole reading process and ask ourselves, is this just a mental exercise? I mean, am I actually taking the insights that I'm getting at my tarot table and actually bringing them into my life and having them work for me? Or am I just using the cards as a kind of like something fun, like a hobby, something really, interesting, something that might make me feel better, but am I actually sort of grounding this in the physical? Am I actually getting the most out of this tool? So that's really what week 6 is all about. For me, this is really the crux of everything that we've learned so far up to this point, because like I said, if you don't know how to take the insights that you get from your reading into your actual life, then, your reading might make you feel better, which is a huge benefit, but it may not be very long lasting, and you might not actually get that sense of real transformation and real change as you continue on with your life and grow. So the thing that I want to say first about this is that we have a concept in strategic intervention coaching, which is a style of coaching that I have studied and that I have become certified in just to help me just as a reader and for a lot of different reasons. But one of the things that is really important when we're talking about something like life coaching, or when we're talking about, having a conversation with another person or with ourselves and trying to sort of reach a positive growth point or reach some kind of improvement, is taking action. And so we have this concept called directives, which is basically a way to sort of formulate an action plan or a strategy plan following a conversation with a life coach. That's really like the context that it's in, that we talk about it in the coaching. But I feel like that concept really applies very well to a tarot reading, because after you do a reading for yourself, for example, you can get really awesome insights, but if you don't quantify how you're going to move forward with those insights and how you're going to change your approach in life, then you're going to possibly lose some of the concreteness that you could have had after having that very healing reading with yourself. So directives are basically an action plan. You can write them out as sort of bullet points of things that you want to do or things that you're going to change, and you will make some kind of a time restraint or some kind of time commitment on it. So, for example, if you're doing a reading on finding a relationship, which I talked about in the spread, and the message of the reading was to get out there and meet more people, you could create some directives that are sort of along the lines of, okay, I'm going to strike up a conversation with 4 different people who seem friendly over the next week, and not necessarily prospects of people that you'd want to have a relationship with. I mean, maybe they are, but maybe also just regular people that seem friendly and that you would want to be a little bit more social with or interact with a little bit more, to maybe help cure some social anxiety or to get more comfortable having conversations with people that you don't already know. So that's one example of a directive, or something that we could call like an action that you can take that will help to open you up a little bit more and help you to sort of expand your world and get you just a little bit more out of your comfort zone. So notice how we're doing, a specific number here. So we're talking about maybe 4 people over the next week. And we're setting, again, that time limit, which is a week. So it's really important to be specific when we're talking about directives and action plans following a reading. So this strategy or this process will help you to bring out whatever insights you get. And now it could be the opposite. If you do a reading for yourself that talks a lot about needing to go within, maybe you get the Hermit and the Four of Swords and all of these cards that talk about inner work, the High Priestess maybe. You get these cards that are talking about, okay, look, you've been really out in the world, or you've been really focused on the external. Now you need to kind of like point yourself more inward. A perfect example of a directive or an action plan following that reading would be, okay, how much time can I really commit to journaling in the morning or meditating? Maybe I will commit to 10 minutes a day of meditation first thing in the morning, and then 10 minutes of journaling following that. So now I'm implementing 20 minutes a day of inner work, which might include me pulling a card for myself. Who knows? It's whatever you want it to be, but you're setting a time limit. You're setting something specific and quantifiable, so that you can go back and check in with yourself over the next few weeks and make sure that you're actually following through. Because if you don't have specific action plans following your reading, you're not going to be able to really accurately gauge your progress. I mean, you can look at, generally speaking, how much better you feel, and that's always a great indicator of positive shifts that have been made. So you can always check in with yourself to see how you feel initially. But if you are doing something like, for example, if you do a business reading for yourself and you get all these cards that talk about, the world and kind of making connections and all of these sort of things that have to do with getting the word out, maybe it's more quantifiable for you to say, okay, well, I'm going to post on social media 3 times a week. And that is my strategy for myself. That is my action plan. I'm going to commit to that. And, maybe sometimes I'll make it easier on myself by maybe just sharing something that someone else has posted and just kind of repost it for them and sort of help someone else out maybe. But I know that I will be interacting on my page. Or, if you're somebody who has a business, maybe it's customer engagement. You might have a specific directive for how you want to manage that and make sure that you are achieving that, because you can get really amazing advice from your tarot readings, and you can get advice that will really help you in your life. But if you don't follow it, or if you don't kind of at least make it your intention to stay connected to it, then what will start to happen is that your focus will begin to wane, not just on that specific advice that you got from that one reading, but just in general, your readings will become more and more kind of fuzzy over time, because they're not really doing anything for you. And so it is kind of that thing where if you're going to be asking for divine guidance from your higher self and your guides and angels, whoever it is that you believe that you're connecting with, you're going to also want to kind of be able to show up, to do the work and to do the participation that's required in order to show and to demonstrate, not just to your guides and angels, for example, if that's who you believe you're dealing with, but also to yourself, that you're going to make that commitment to yourself. So directives, action plans are the first thing that I wanted to share with you guys about just after any reading, no matter what kind of reading it is. If you're doing, an inner child healing spread, or if you're doing a goal achievement spread, or just a relationship spread, anything that you're doing for yourself, you can always use this concept of directives, and you can use this concept of quantifiable actions that you can create for yourself that work within your schedule. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't try and do too much, because then you're just going to get resistant to it and you're going to fall off the wagon. So make it easy, make it simple, make it something that's realistic that you can actually do, that will work with your lifestyle, and also make it quantifiable. So those are my main tips for that. That's kind of the most basic sort of tier of taking the wisdom that you get from your readings and bringing it into your life, is actually taking a moment after your reading to strategize what actions you're going to take and how you're going to take them, and then just making that commitment to yourself. The second thing that I want to talk about as far as bringing your wisdom from your readings into your actual tangible existence is affirmation and physical stance. So this is a really fun one, and you're probably already familiar with this for me if you have seen any of my other YouTube videos. I know I've mentioned the magician posture, which I really love to do just all the time whenever I feel like I need a little pick-me-up. But basically, the way that I use this is after I do a reading, I will kind of look at the overall energies in the spread that I see, and I'll look for cards that represent like the energy that I'm meant to bring forth, or the energy or the archetype that I want to bring more of, like out of myself, like that I want to see more of in myself, because I feel like that will help me in whatever life situation I'm reading about. So I will take, for example, something like the Magician card. That's a very creative card, and his posture with one arm up and the other one down symbolizes the ability to channel higher frequencies into the manifested world. So if I'm doing a reading for myself that requires a similar amount of manifestation power, I will plan to assume the magician posture, especially if the magician came up in the reading. I might say, okay, I'm going to, and I've done this before many times, I'm going to assume the magician posture for 10 breaths. I'm going to do this twice a day, and I'm going to repeat an affirmation while I'm holding the posture. So I actually have one of mine up here. It was actually just an affirmation that I made for myself quite a while ago, actually. And I still do this occasionally. I don't do it all the time. It says, I am the decider, I am the lover, I am the magician. And that's just a personal affirmation that has a special meaning for me. So I won't go too much into all the different ways to define that, but that's just one of my personal affirmations that I put up on a post-it note, and I would hold the magician posture and I would say that affirmation, and I did that twice a day. I think I did that one committedly for probably 2 weeks, and then now I just do it whenever I need it. And what this really does is it really kind of helps you to have almost like a shorthand to summarize and simplify the main empowering messages that you got from your reading. And it gives you a way to kind of work them literally into your tissues. So taking that wisdom from the reading and assuming a physical stance. You know, some people will do the Superman posture where they stand like this for a couple of minutes, and that supposedly, I think they've done studies, they've seen that it raises testosterone, it boosts kind of like happy brain chemicals, and it makes people more confident. So there's real science that backs this up. But you can basically use this for anything. And, you know, it doesn't have to be something that you are. A lot of people will use that if they're nervous, for example, to go into a job interview, or if they're nervous to do something that they're afraid of. You can use it for that, but you can also use it for example, releasing something or having boundaries. You could even going like this sometimes. I've used that, this kind of physical gesture with an affirmation about boundaries, because I saw in the reading that I needed to have more boundaries. And so I would just do that. And that really helped me to stay more firmly rooted in my space and to make sure that that I wasn't having anything kind of in my energetic field that I didn't want there. So Using an affirmation really is very easy. It doesn't require anything other than you just kind of looking over your reading and coming up with a sentence, essentially, that really sums up the energy that you want to get more of in your life, or that you want to see more of in yourself. Summarizing that into one sentence, and then you can take it off of a card. So if there was, the star card, or if there was, one of the knights, or even this, I have the Two of Wands right here. You could even hold the globe like you're holding the world in your hands. There's no limit to the creativity that you can apply to this. But taking the posture maybe of one of the cards that really looks empowering for you, or really looks like, oh yes, I want more of that energy. Or for example, if you have the Empress card and you wanted to kind of get more of the Empress energy in your life, and it was something about, increasing your creativity or trusting the flow, or whatever your shorthand would be, you can assume the kind of like the posture of the Empress, which she's seated very comfortably, but you could also take care of yourself the way that the Empress does. You could get your hair done or your nails done, or you could do something along those lines that makes you feel like you're accessing the Empress energy. So it doesn't always have to literally just be a physical stance. It can be something else that you do physically, that you just do it with the intention that, okay, I'm going to feel like the Empress right now. I'm going to really nurture myself. I'm going to enjoy luxury right now. I'm going to treat myself the way the Empress treats herself. And then go do that. Whatever that thing is you're going to do, just do it from that intention. And that also works. So affirmation, just be creative about it. Physical stance, again, be creative, but find a way to sort of speak it and sort of stand it, or kind of be it. Find a way to speak it and be it after your reading. And then, for me, affirmations really just work. They work kind of like take two and call me in the morning. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like an aspirin or something. You just take it. You don't need to know for certain that it's working. You don't have to wonder if it's working. You don't have to doubt it or second guess it. Just do it. And don't worry about it. Just do it and let it be simple. Let it be something that, you stay focused while you're doing it, but you don't have to wonder if you're doing it right, or you don't have to second guess yourself. You don't have to go back and change it all the time. You don't have to beat yourself up if you miss a day or whatever. Just make it simple. Just make it simple and easy on yourself. Those are my main tips for using affirmation and physical stance following a reading. So I'm so excited because this is my favorite subject. So the third thing that I want to talk about, and which there's more information on this in the PDF, is manifesting with tarot cards. So there's a spread in your deck that really takes you through the processes that I have found to be the most useful for manifesting. There are so many ways to do this. But the way that I like to do it, and you'll see in the spread in the PDF, is that I like to take a card face up, similar to what we've done at different points during the course using face up tarot. So you're consciously choosing a card that represents where you feel like you are now in terms of something that you want to manifest. So you have this goal, or you have something that you desire. You pick a card first showing where you think you are now in relation to accomplishing that desire. And then you pick a card that represents, consciously, you pick a card that represents the thing that you want. And so you have kind of this sense of like, okay, here's where I am and here's where I want to go. And then you take a few cards that represent the steps along your journey, and you're going to shuffle the rest of the deck, and choose face down. And so this is going to give you the opportunity to really reveal whatever steps are necessary for you along your path to achieving that goal, like whatever it is that you want to achieve. And then you're going to lay those 3 cards down in between the cards 1 and 2, which are kind of further apart. And so that is going to give you the steps that you have to take. And some of them may be inner work, and you'll be able to tell that by the card itself. Some of them may be actual things that you can go and take action on at this time or imminently, so there's going to be a lot of different ways that you can look at the cards, but again, just trust your intuition. Again, all this stuff is going to be about trusting your intuition. And then you also have a card that represents the best attitude or approach to take at this time in regard to manifesting. And then you also have a card that talks about the wild aspect. It's called the wild card. So twists and turns, things that you might not expect, or how things could change in the course of you trying to achieve this goal. So that's just like a little summary of the spread itself, and I find that spread to be really useful when it comes to manifesting with tarot, because it gives you that opportunity to combine face up and face down tarot in a very creative way. And it really does kind of map out your sort of journey to manifesting. So I really love that spread. Usually if I'm going to do that spread, I will go through all the steps of creating sacred space first. I'll usually light a candle, and I will, again, come up with an affirmation and an action plan following that reading. And I will even probably say some kind of prayer, which there's an example of in the PDF. So it's definitely kind of more of a ritualistic spread for me. I don't like to do that one just, whip out my cards and start laying them down. I like to make that one kind of more of a sacred energy. And it's something that I really take my time with, and I really sit with the spread and really kind of get into it more deeply. But it's something that for me has been so powerful. Every time I've ever used tarot to manifest something, it has always come through for me. So it's just, there's always timing to consider and things of that nature, but for me it has worked really great. So that's something that I highly recommend. But there's also other things to consider when it comes to manifesting. I mean, it's really important also to be emotionally aligned with whatever your desire is. And that, for me, the simplest way to describe that is that when I want to manifest something and I'm thinking about it and I'm really focused on it and I'm really looking forward to it and all these things, if I'm thinking about it and I actually find that I'm emotionally feeling worse than I was before I started thinking about it, to me, that's a clue that I'm not really emotionally aligned with my thinking on this subject. And so I have to kind of take a step back and remove myself maybe, or focus on something else, so that I'm not kind of dragging down my vibration, because I find that when I'm like just really looking forward to something and I don't have any resistance to it when I'm thinking about it, I don't feel any negative emotion. I just feel maybe a little bit of excitement or maybe a little bit of expectation. That's usually when things kind of tend to move. Or if I think about something that I know that I want, but I'm not desperate for it, or I'm not attached to the outcome, then I also have noticed that that's when things tend to come through for me more. But when I'm thinking about something and I feel more urgent, or when I think about it and it feels wrong or sad or out of alignment as I'm sort of contemplating this thing that I want, then I usually know that there's some emotional work that has to be done. So I might do an inner child healing spread, or I might go out for a walk, or do some exercise, or spend some time with somebody who uplifts me. I would do something to sort of change my state before trying to do the manifesting spread. Because if you do the manifesting spread when you're feeling kind of achy or out of alignment or sad or desperate or needy, then you're probably not going to have the best reading, because you're not even going to really be in the state to receive that reading, if that makes sense. So that's something to consider, is that vibration and your emotional alignment is really what helps you manifest things. It's not necessarily just the cards that do anything for you. I believe that all of the magic that happens in a tarot reading really happens within us and not in the cards. So you have to kind of be in the state of mind, or you have to kind of trick yourself to be in the state of mind. And I don't mean trick yourself in a negative way, but just kind of, if you feel like you need a pick-me-up, give yourself a pick-me-up. Go do a really quick yoga workout, or go outside, or do something that's going to make you happy and that's going to kind of help you relax on that subject before you do your manifesting spread. That's when I found that it has been the most effective. And again, with the manifesting spread, it'll be even more important to do the action directives, like the action plans after the reading. That's going to be even more important when you are doing the manifesting spread, because you're going to have to participate with the universe. You will have to probably take some action steps and do some things in order to make space in your life for that thing that you are seeking. So you can read my sample manifesting spread in the PDF, but I just wanted to share that with you guys because it's one of my favorites. So the last topic of this week is cord cutting and release work. So there's, again, so many ways to do this. So I'm just going to share with you guys the strategies that I like to use. One thing that I will just say is that with the Ace of Swords, this is a card that is, it's so powerful. It is powerful almost in a shamanic sense. It's one of my favorite cards because of just the ability that it has to clear and to sort of purify your vibration. So anytime that any of you guys might be feeling a little bit icky, if you were around somebody that just was maybe a little bit of an energy sucker, or if you had kind of like a bad experience, if you saw something or heard something that you didn't like or whatever, use the Ace of Swords. Sometimes I just close my eyes and visualize this card. And it is so powerful how clearing it is. It will clear anything yucky in your body energetic wise. It is going to really just free up your vibration in such a powerful way. And it's something that you can do anywhere, anytime. Just visualize the Ace of Swords card. I like to visualize it kind of in my core, like the tip of it being kind of in my throat chakra, and then the hilt being down sort of more in my ab region. And I just find that like having this visualization of the Ace of Swords right around my core is so purifying for my chakras, and it's something that I meditate with all the time. So I use the Ace of Swords for all of my cord cutting and all of my release work. And the way that I personally like to do my release work, I may have shared this with some of you guys who have asked me personally about it. But basically the Ace of Swords, I will take this out when I know that I want to release something, like an energetic connection maybe that I have to someone. And there's more about this in the PDF, but you can cut a cord from between yourself and another person. For example, if you have a breakup and you still feel like you're carrying that person's energy, and although you don't wish them anything negative, you just need to have that sort of sense of an energetic boundary now, and you need that space and you need that closure for yourself. The Ace of Swords would be a great card to use to visualize with. It would also be a great one to use for the cord cutting ceremony. You can also use this cord cutting ceremony not just for cutting cords like with people from your past, but you can also use it to kind of free yourself from negative habits. So I like to kind of envision this like the Eight of Swords card. she's got some bad mental habits and she's all tied up and she's doesn't really know how to free herself. Well, visualizing the Ace of Swords would really get you out of that situation whenever you feel like you're in the Eight of Swords, mentally speaking. The Ace of Swords will just come in and clear out all of that energy and help you see things from such a different perspective. So basically what I like to do is I like to sort of start with a divination before any release work. And there's more information on this in the PDF and the full spread that I use. And this is really just an opportunity for you to kind of think about what you really want to let go of and what you're really kind of motivated by in that process. Because sometimes when we're doing release work, we might think that we want to release like a certain thing, but after we do a little reading about it or after we really kind of tune into ourselves, we might realize a deeper truth that's even goes further beyond what we were sort of consciously thinking. Oh yeah, I just want to release the emotion of anger towards someone. You know, you could want to release that and that would be a perfectly natural thing to release. But there might be, you know, as we've seen with sort of the inner child, outer child work, there might be something beneath that anger that that really like has a positive intent for you, or that really has something more powerful, that if you were to sort of recognize that in yourself and if you were to accept that in yourself, you would be able to kind of maybe not even go through the whole process of the release work. Maybe you would realize that what you need is just more self-love, and maybe you don't need to release something or try and cut a cord. Maybe that's not the issue at all. So that's why I always like to start with a divination when I'm talking about, you know, or thinking about doing any release work, because I want to make sure that I'm really taking the right action for me. And so don't be surprised if you try, for example, the pre-cord cutting divination spread and you have sort of new realizations about your own emotional state or your own healing process. And you're like, you know what? I don't even need to do that ritual. I'm fine. Like, I'm just going to go support my inner child, or I'm going to go do something else that will uplift me, then, you know, that's normal. That's going to happen for some of you guys. So, but if you do want to continue with the release work, here's how I do it. I take the Ace of Swords, I lay it in the center of the table. I take a string. I like to use dark string because dark string tends to hold kind of like denser energies. Whereas if I was using a white string, I feel like it would just intuitively for me, it doesn't feel as good at hanging on, you know, because you're going to basically visualize the connection that you want to release. You're going to charge this string with that connection. So you probably want to use a darker string because it's more of something that can hold the energy, I feel. So you want to use a string, and then I will just sometimes tie two objects together using that same string. One of them to represent my own energy, and then the other one to represent the other person's energy. So I'm demonstrating with stones right now, but you can use anything. In the PDF, there's a picture of the paper. There's two pieces of paper that I just wrote the things like myself and then the emotion that I wanted to release. So you can just write it on a piece of paper and then roll the paper up and then tie it at one end of the string so it looks like a little scroll tied at the end of the string, and then the other thing that you want to release on the other end. And you can also use like any object. You can use a photograph, for example, if you want to release a person from your energy fields, cutting that energetic cord with them, for example. You could do a photo of yourself and then a photo of that person. Tie them together, place them over the Ace of Swords, kind of just in the center. And then I like to just charge this connection between the object that represents me and the object that represents the other person. I just like to meditate with that. I will light a candle and just focus on everything that I want to let go of about the connection, or if it's not another person, if I'm letting go of a belief or a habit, just whatever it is, I just charge that. I just bring it up in my mind. I really focus on all the reasons why I want to let go of it, all the reasons why I'm ready to move on. And gradually, just as I begin to feel ready, I will continue to kind of push my intention into the string that this represents the cord between myself and this other person. And just really focusing that energy, focusing it very, very intentionally. And then when I'm ready, I will either burn the string in the center with the candle, or I'll just take a scissor and cut right through the cord, right over the Ace of Swords. So the Ace of Swords is kind of coming in, and I'm looking at the Ace of Swords as I cut through the string. And so that really is the whole crux of it. That's the whole process, basically. And so I'll just cut the cord, and then dispose, this is really important, dispose of the other object, the object that represents the person or the thing that you're releasing. Dispose of that right away and get rid of it separately from the object that represents you. So for example, if you just used a piece of paper to represent, if you just write me or my energy on the piece of paper, and then you write the other person's name or what you're trying to release on the other paper, don't throw the papers away together in the same sort of recycling bin, because that will communicate to your unconscious mind that they're kind of going together. So just keep them separate. If you can burn them, if you have a fireplace or something that's safe for you to burn things, that would be awesome. I've used organic matter for this, so I've used rocks in the past and charged the rocks, and then I've buried those, and that has worked amazingly. I did this and I never, hardly ever even think about the thing that I had released before, just after burying it. I mean, it really works. So that's basically the entire ceremony. I always like to take a few more moments to record how I felt after doing the cord cutting process. And then really importantly, I always like to sort of sweep and clear the energy of my room after doing any release work. It's really important to release that, because you are kind of creating a lot of energy by working with this. So you want to open the window or do a smudging or whatever you like to do to sort of clear your space. That's going to be really important to do following any release work or any cord cutting. And that's basically it. And then you really just, from that point, you don't want to think about that thing anymore that you're releasing or that person. You want to just try and focus on other things. And even if you do feel like there's still a little bit of a residual connection, it's probably just your mind. And it's easy to sort of kind of almost want to go back there and start thinking about it, or wonder if you didn't do the ceremony correctly, or if your ritual didn't work. Don't fall into that. It's the same thing as with the affirmations. It works even when you're not sure if it is. So just do it. Again, focus while you're doing it. Stay really intentional. And then just kind of let it go after that. And trust that the energetic connection is severed and that it will begin to recede, and you will start to feel the space, and you will feel like a spaciousness that is kind of arising within you, and it's coming into your life, and it's opening up new energy for new things to come in. And so you have to kind of focus on embracing the new, so that you're not kind of looking back at the past all the time, because that will be something that inhibits you from moving forward if you sort of think too much about this ritual after you do it, or if you try and kind of, if you doubt the process and you're kind of still thinking about this person or this thing, that will really kind of just take away from your own mental state. And really, if you are doing this correctly and you're focusing your intention into the string and then you cut it over the Ace of Swords, and there's also a prayer that I'm including in the PDF that will help you have something to say to sort of verbally incite the positive shift that you're bringing by cutting this cord. If you do all of this, it doesn't matter if you think it didn't work. It will still work, and eventually you will realize, oh yeah, that actually did really work for me, and I've seen how my life has changed, or I've seen how new energy was able to come in after I did that. So even if you're doubting it, it's still going to work as long as you're focusing and doing all the steps. And that is basically how I use cord cutting. I know that there's a lot of different ways that people like to do this, so I always modify things based on what you intuitively feel in the moment. There's nothing about this that is like a hard rule at all. Another quick thing that I'll mention that has to do with release work, I really like smoky quartz when I'm doing release work. I find that it's really helpful in sort of catching any stray, like negative energy, especially any negative energy that I might be bringing. If I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety, or if I'm feeling kind of stressed or worrisome or anything, that's a really nice grounding stone. I also like topaz and amber. Both of these are just really grounding and helpful for me when I do release work. So earthy, kind of darker grounding stones are stones that I like to hold or keep in my lap when I'm doing this release ritual. Okay, guys, I feel like that was pretty much everything. I hope that this video has helped you sort of gain some inspiration and some insights for some rituals that you can do to manifest using your tarot cards, and also some divination and some sort of insights and rituals that you can try for cord cutting and releasing things, and really taking the like insights and the wisdom that you get from your readings and creating positive action for yourself out in the world. Because just like with the dream analysis or with the inner child work, all of this stuff is so helpful, but what really is going to make the difference for each of us in our life is actually taking action and sort of being responsible for our own outcomes in life. So it's really important to always bring everything that we get out of our readings and actually bring that into our physical life. It's a gift and it's a blessing, and it's an opportunity to really work magic in the world. So it's a subject that I just love, and I hope that you guys have gotten something useful out of it as well. And if you have any questions, or if you want to give me feedback on the course, I would love to hear from you. So please go ahead and send me an email anytime. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for taking the course with me. It has been such an honor to connect with you guys. You're so amazing, and it's just been an awesome experience and a delight, and I'm sending you so much love and so much light to you guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you a bit later. Bye.